3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Hey everybody, and welcome to the College Esports Update brought to you by Zaxby's. Cure your craving with Zaxby's. I am your host, Norris Howard, joined alongside one of the finest people in all of college esports, Coach Adam Antor of Aquinas College. We just call him Coach. Coach, what's happening?
Hey, not much. How you doing?
Hey, it's all good, man. We got a lot of College League of Legends to talk about. CLoL for the uninitiated. We love this esport, and so we're going to go right into it. So we're going to start everything off, and we're going to talk about the big four conferences, North, South, East, and West when it comes to College League of Legends. And starting out in the East, York University has gotten off to a great start, 3-0 start. They got a lot of tough teams in that region. HU Storm being one of the top ones that they got to look out for. But York has gotten off to a great start and maybe an unexpected esports team to be in this top spot. Coach, if you're not going 3-0, as you say all the time in college league, if you're not going 3-0, you're not going 4, 5, 6-0, you're gonna have a tough time getting into that postseason. Do you think York can maintain this sort of pace?
You know, I think they can. York is one of those schools that usually has a pretty good esports program all around, not just in League of Legends, but in a couple different titles. I expect them to do pretty well going in the next couple weeks. Another one, you got to watch out for Harrisburg. If these two meet, it's going to be a clash of titans. We'll see who comes out on top. Hopefully they can sneak past each other for at least a week or two more, but we'll see. Harrisburg, like I said, is going to be a powerhouse and a really big behemoth to try to take down if your school goes up against them.
Absolutely, and we know Harrisburg, one of the top esports programs in the entire country. But back on the context of York, I was able to watch their match against Ryerson, another legacy, really great esports program. They were able to 2-0 them, but it wasn't the most convincing 2-0 that I've seen. Obviously, we've seen a number of teams be able to sort of sweep aside some of the smaller teams, but this was definitely a meeting of two very competent sides. And, for York, for me, I'm always looking at bot lane, even though that's not what anybody cares about anymore. But it stood out to me in this match because their AD carry, Logia, died way too much. And I mean, if you're going to be on these dueling carry champions like Kaisa and stuff like that, you absolutely cannot be dead. You just can't. Kaisa is a champion that has to be in the mix, has to be ahead because she scales so well into the late game. And if you're dead, you're behind. You're behind everybody. You can't really come back. You become a non-factor into the mid and late game. And I just think there was way too much downtime. So I think they really got to focus on the bot lane because, listen, the supports were doing great. The support player Invent did a great job, but it was because they had to. And I never want my support player to have to do the heavy lifting of the team, at least for me. Coach, how do you feel about that when you got a bot lane that seems to be more support heavy than it is AD carry heavy?
I mean, as a support main, I'm proud, but it's definitely something you got to be aware of, especially if you die early in the game. It's really easy to get what we call in the esports industry tilted and just kind of snowball and let the other team get ahead really quickly. And that's something you got to be aware of. And you see a lot of it as a problem in teams that don't have proper coaching. Somebody who can kind of take a bigger picture and say, hey, you died quick. You got to mentally reset and get back into this game or else it's going to go downhill real quickly. And hopefully they can address that going forward.
Yeah, moving out to the north, which is your home region, we got a surprise team at the top of the table, in my opinion, in Michigan State. Very strong program, but they are also in the same region with teams like Illinois, Columbia, Maryville, your own Aquinas. This is a very, very strong region, in my opinion, the strongest region top to bottom. And I'm not saying that just because we are here in Michigan. I honestly believe that this is the biggest collection of quality teams in college League of Legends. But you guys were able to go up against MSU, and what is your assessment of that team? Now, I obviously don't want you to give up any team secrets or strats or anything like that, but MSU was able to come out on top against you guys. What were you able to take away from that match?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting point because unfortunately we had to actually forfeit that match because we had players doing other things, and that's just a really frustrating part of collegiate right now. But this is a team that would have given us a lot of trouble if not just taking the win against our team. Really strong team. You look at Sunlight and Moonlight and a couple other of those players on Michigan State. They're just super strong. They're familiar with this being in this position. They're a team that consistently finishes top 16, top 8 in North America when it comes to CLoL. So this team is not a team you just kind of brush over. And it's a team I'm not surprised to be in that top 4, top 5 in this North Conference going into it. Now, the rankings when it comes to CLoL right now are a little skewed, a little weird. I wouldn't necessarily put Michigan State at the top of that list, but top 4 I don't think is a surprise when you start looking at Maryville, Columbia, Michigan State as some of the top 3 when it comes to the North Conference. Some really strong teams, and I just get surprised and kind of taken back every time I look at the list of schools on that North Conference because it is a heavy one, and there's some really talented teams in there.
Absolutely. And you also have a couple other Michigan teams that are undefeated as well, Oakland University and the University of Michigan. So Michigan very well represented in the North Division of CLoL. Now, moving out west, UCI was a legacy school again. They were toppled by California State Fullerton, who has now moved to the top of the table as well. But again, the West is the exact opposite, in my opinion, of that North Division, where you got a lot of teams that are kind of stuck in the middle. And, you know, a lot of us in the traditional sports world or in the esports world view the West Coast as kind of where esports lives. California is where esports really had its first boom, its first growth. But the schools there are not performing at the same level as the northern and eastern divisions, and even a lot of schools in Texas and in the South. Why do you think the West is struggling in league and in other esports like this?
I think we're seeing the benefits of higher scholarship amounts when it comes to the North Division and the East Coast, is that these smaller private schools are giving a lot more money to talent to come play for them. And what the West Coast schools have right now is just kind of the name recognition and the ability to be kind of down the road from these developers for job opportunities. But beyond that, we're not seeing as much scholarship investment in talent, and it's starting to kind of catch up to them. I think there's a couple programs on that West Coast starting to do what they need to do. I know Boise State not quite on the West Coast, but they're doing a phenomenal job what Doc Haskell has been doing with that program and starting to bring in some top tier talent this year and going into next year. I think they're going to be a powerhouse when it comes to most esports, and not just in the West Conference, but on a national level.
Yeah, and closing out in the Southern Division, UNC Charlotte, their Niners Esports also off to a great start, 3-0. They made a really great start, but I want to talk a little bit about Winthrop. Winthrop is, again, a team that we see consistently in the conversation for CLoL, consistently in the conversation for the national championship. Winthrop went up against Alabama. They made quick work of Alabama. I mean, their bot laner, Saskio, carried the game 13-0-5 on Kai'Sa in that first match. Listen, I am not a Kai'Sa main as much as I AD carry. I'm not a Kai'Sa main. But when I see a good Kai'Sa, it is electrifying. It is some of the most fun because you get that R and she dashes in and Q just shoots lights all over the place. It is madness when you see a good Kai'Sa, and that's what we saw in this match. UNC Charlotte and Winthrop, these are really great teams. Do you think a sleeper team can come from this southern region? Because we also got Central Florida in the mix. I mean, this is going to be a region that has some quality teams coming out once we talk about the postseason, right?
Yeah, I mean, all these teams you're mentioning are teams that maybe haven't made their name in League of Legends yet, but are really strong in other esports titles. And it's just a testament to the structure and the investment that they're putting into their esports programs in general. But what's really going to come down to is, are these teams getting scrim times and practice times against the top teams in the other conferences, the North Division powerhouses, the East Division powerhouses? Are these teams in the South getting time and face time against these North teams? Because yes, you might plow through your region, but once you get into the playoffs, it's going to be a whole different level of competition, and you got to be ready for that. And that's what I would look to.
Yeah, we're halfway through this, so the wheat is being separated from the chaff. We only get 6 weeks of, this sort of Swiss format where you play some teams and some teams you don't play. So, you may luck up and end up playing a few weaker teams and find yourself in the postseason, or you may find yourself really struggling because you got to play against some of the top dogs. But we're halfway through this first phase of the College League of Legends season. We got 3 more weeks of play until we start talking about the postseason for the semester. Coach, understanding where we are right now, do you see that these tables should be changing in any drastic way, or are we kind of seeing, the teams that should be in the top spots claiming those top spots? I'll get a last word to you.
Yeah, I think we're seeing no huge surprises in my opinion. I think Oakland University's done a fantastic job at kind of bursting into the scene this year, and they're performing well in CLoL. You look to John Schneck in the top lane, Keelan, 2 former Aquinas players who are now at Oakland under the direction of Carl Leone, and they're doing really well in the North Division. They're undefeated. That would be my big surprise Cinderella pick, if you will. But everyone else, no huge surprises. I think we were a little bit surprised when we saw Illinois Wesleyan was playing their B team in CLoL this year because their A team was busy in the pro scouting, or the Path of Pro series. So we don't see them undefeated at this point, which is a big surprise. But other than that, you still got Maryville, you still got Harrisburg, you still got Columbia. They're all performing really well. And then you've got the partner conferences, the Midwest Esports Conference. Grandview's doing a fantastic job there. Robert Morris is in that division as well. You've got to keep an eye on them. Illinois College as well is kind of hidden in that partner conference. So there's a lot of league to be played still.
Yes.
But through 3 weeks, we're doing just about where I would guess we would be. So.
Absolutely. And Carl Leone, coach of Oakland University, former player for Robert Morris. So that's a guy that's got a lot of legacy and a lot of experience in College League of Legends for that team. So happy to see where they are. Want to close today with a brief update going on College CoD. Now, you guys know I love me some College CoD, and a lot of things have been happening, but number one is Rutgers is on the move, y'all. Rutgers Scarlet and Rutgers Black have both been great this season, and they are really, really playing well, but Rutgers Black got put to the test as they played against the New Jersey Institute of Technology, a 5-game series that went down to the wire. And when I say this, I literally mean to the wire. In the very last round of the search and destroy on the very last map, they had Liu Kang rush the bomb on S&D. The timer is counting down. If he doesn't defuse this bomb, Rutgers loses and the series is over. He doesn't fight. He doesn't go through and try to clear the building, clear the plane on this map. He defuses the bomb. This has got to be our play of the week for this week. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. But I want to more so talk about the seedings here. As we know in College CoD, after the first split, every region will be broken up into a top half and a bottom half. So the top performing teams will be in that top half, and the teams that didn't perform so well will all be put into that bottom half, in a way kind of evening up the level of play, which I think is a brilliant idea, as we don't have schools playing these pointless games that mean nothing. But, Coach, I want to ask you a very pointed question here. If you are a team on the cusp of being sent down to that lower level where you got to play against some of the other teams that have not performed as well, if you're on the cusp, do you kind of chill out and let yourself play in that lower bracket, knowing that you may be able to outperform them and make the play-ins or make the postseason? Or do you gun for the top spot, knowing that that is going to be the harder route, but you get an automatic berth if you win it?
I think it's going to come down to the coach's personal preference, but I would say that anyone who tries to slack off and take the bottom pool is wrong. You don't just give up and take the easy way. That's not how we do things around here in college esports. You gun it. You make your changes that you need to get into the top group here, and you do it. Because no, I don't think any student will admit publicly that they want to be in the lower division, and coaches shouldn't either. You take that, you run with it. I'd rather go up against a behemoth and lose than run the table against the little guys. So I'm pushing for the top group.
Hey, listen, I love that. That's the modus operandi in the college esports world. But let's not front like teams don't tank in the pros, at least in traditional sports, to get those draft picks. But with college, there is no draft. You got to recruit. You got to recruit. So there's no reason for you to not go for it. Coach Adam Antor joined us for this college esports update. Thank you so much, Coach. We will be back next week for more college esports news. And in the next couple weeks, there's going to be some Overwatch news going on as well. So be prepared for that. As much as we love League and CoD, we're ready for some Overwatch to come back as well. So be prepared for that. I am your host, Norris Howard, and we will see you next time for the college esports update.